Welcome to a new episode of the 7th podcast season of New Female Leaders. And today is a very, very special episode. And I'm super stoked to have my guest here in the studio. My name is Caroline. I'm the founder of New Female Leaders. And in this podcast, I speak to my somatic coach, Taya. Taya, welcome.
Wow. Caroline, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well,
it's absolutely amazing. Thanks for having me today.
I appreciate it so much that you're here. Flew all the way from Ibiza for this interview. And yeah, we will have a very exciting episode because we will dive into the topic of how to connect to your body, how to connect to your energy and to our authentic flow of life force, and how that can help and will help us to become better and more authentic leaders, right? So couldn't be more stoked, really. I have shared a bit about you in my previous episode on my journey to get pregnant. And after releasing that podcast, I've received so many questions about somatic coaching, over what is somatic work, and well, also about you. So I'm really excited you're here. And let's dive right in. So shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start at the very, very basic. Let's start at the beginning. What does somatic means?
Somatic. Of course, there are biological, scientific definitions, but how we as, let's say, somatic therapists, coaches, practitioners, mentors are using it is really to understand that there is a way that we can experience our lives through all of our bodies, and that there are different qualities that we don't learn or are not trained to live and really apply in daily life. And this actually is a lot of our power. So how we use the term somatic, and again, there are so many different approaches. So really, I'm talking about how I experience it and the experiences I have with all of the clients and groups I've worked with. So somatic really means that you can tap into who you truly are by feeling your body from the ground up. That's how I see it. And that's also how my approach to leadership is different. It's not a leadership only from the mind and the heart. It's starting from the ground up. Yeah, we speak about being grounded, but that there is a way, for example, to really feel your legs and your feet and be grounded in a split second by using the qualities. That's not something we learn. Yeah, so many people, for example, would throughout their life look for a way to really feel to belong or to be. Who am I really? And yet it's something that we can own inside of our body. Yet we often are numb or split up or just living too much in our heads that we forgot that it's right here with us in the now. Yeah. So somatic means that there are different qualities that we can be really with all of our body, all of our ability to feel, communicate, have an authentic voice, connect. It's something natural we are born with, right?
Can you give a few examples of those qualities that you're mentioning?
Yeah, of course. As I said, it's the ability to connect. It's a certain way of clear thinking. It's not only in the mind. The mind is in the somatic system. When I say somatic, I mean the head and all the rest of the body is one. Everything we're experiencing through our senses, our emotions, sensations, energy flow, even accessing the spiritual, if that's something that resonates with you when you're listening to this, even this is something that in this life, here and now, we experience through the somatic system, which is all of our body.
So
and
it's
beyond.
Our whole system, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's even beyond the skin, right? How can we open our skin and have an energy body? Yeah, it goes as far as synchronicity and telepathy. Yeah, it's how sensitive and how we can train the these qualities, how I would say it, right?
And what do you mean by from the ground up?
I literally mean from the ground up, from our feet up. Yeah, that we are grounded because we have legs. Yeah, and having said that, obviously there are people who've even lost a leg or don't have legs, but there is, even if you've lost a leg, there is a way that you can feel that part of yourself, and that adds to the a sense of wholeness, let's say. And that's a feeling that's throughout the body. That's not in the mind or the heart alone. Yeah. So from the ground up, what I mean, it's also using first your truth. Yes. So many women I work with, it's when it really gets to the core of what's their own truth. Beyond any expectation, they feel it where in their vagina or in their pelvis. Yeah. Or we often call it gut feeling, but where is it really? It's often really in our vagina. The let's say the courage, when we speak, it's like he has no balls, right? It's like she doesn't have ovary. It's obviously sometimes it's really, it's the connection. We can stand our ground and we are courageous enough to risk something, which is the new, is really perceiving through all of our body the now.
So you're speaking about feet, you're speaking about your legs, but then when you speak about your base and your truth, you're actually, and the listeners cannot see this, but you're pointing and holding your lower belly, your pelvis. So can you help me by explaining? So we ground through our feet and legs, but then there is a base in that area that you just pointed to, right?
Exactly. As I said, it's where our courage and our truth lives. And what I mean by this is that we get a sensation, or we just know. Yeah. For example, we meet somebody new and call it intuition, but often we are not sure where did we feel this intuition, this truth, right? People would naturally, or most, if I just asked them, they would say, oh, I feel it in my heart. But then when we go deeper and we really work, they actually felt it before, they felt it in their heart, they felt it in their vaginas, or they felt it in their genitals. It's actually the same for men. Yeah.
So what is going on there? Because if I'm correct, the Chinese call it dantian. There's the point just below your navel that they, with Qigong, they refer to that point, and they're in many traditions they refer to that area in the lower belly as our base. So what is going on there?
Well, I like to not give some general rule, because the absolute core of my work is uniqueness, right? That so if you want to know in this very moment, everyone who's listening, start breathing, start moving, feel everything we talk about in your own body, right? Oh, yeah. It's never the same for me, there are as many female leaders as there are women that decide to want to be a leader, that are being conscious of that they're actually leading a life, that they lead a self, that they lead others around them by living, that they stand for something. So I want you to feel everything in your own body, right? Maybe you feel it in your gut, literally, or you feel it if you activate a little bit your pelvic floor, like Mula Bandha in yoga or something, right? Yeah. Like you already feel more alive. There is a strength. There is maybe your spine is more upright. You feel more connected. Like, what is that feeling for you? That's always the question. What is that feeling for you? What does it do to you? Right? And how come you don't feel it in daily life? And as I said, leading from the ground up is, we have our barriers in our body where we tend to close because we learn to live from the head. Like, let's say 95% of the day, right? We train to live from the head. And maybe then we go to the gym, or maybe then we do yoga, but we need to live from all of our body during the moments that are most relevant to us, when we are with the people we love, when we build up a business, when we lead our team, when we really want to show up and stand for what we stand for, right? So leading from the ground up again also means then that you can feel what's going on in your core, and actually it's always connected. So there is, if you open up your body, a constant energy flow, right? Call it the flow of life, call it being alive. It goes with your breathing. It connects everything in your body constantly. And then you can think of all the qualities that you have, your voice, your loving, your communication, your senses, your perception, that everything is always connected, right? Just as an example, when we did our first sessions, you could literally experience that whatever became more present or more alive in your body would constantly and immediately affect your thoughts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a little bit turning it around, where in many approaches, meditation, when you change your thoughts, your body can maybe relax or you can sink a little bit deeper into your body. But from my experience, it's time to re-embody the world, right? Because, yeah, that's our nature. This is how we were born. And we just through conditioning lost all of this power because, yeah, maybe we wouldn't fit in so much. Maybe we wouldn't function in the way, but maybe we would be really living our genius, our uniqueness.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting word, re-embodying. And especially when I speak to a lot of women, and also what I recognize myself, especially, a few years ago, you hear very often the term walking head, like being completely cut off of the rest of your body. You just feel like you're completely, automated by your head, right? And what you're describing by re-embodiment, that is indeed a completely different experience, can I say, from my own experience, also my experience with you. So what do you mean exactly by re-embodying? What does it mean?
Well, in the end, it means to remember what you were born with as a child. Most children, look at children in Ibiza. They grow up in nature. They have a lot of space to express themselves. They're often in the water. They live, at least in the north, in different communities where we believe in that they have a space to be unique and that they can express themselves and learn in their own way. And so you see this flow of life through them is much more natural, right? They know where they want to go. They don't think about it. They run, they play, they taste, and we as adults, we can remember this way of living when we reconnect to our bodies. What does it mean? It does mean that we have to let go of a lot of, let's say, somatic charge or patterns that we learned to, let's say, fit in, or that we went through some challenging situations where we just closed and had to numb because it was just simply too much for our system.
Right.
So this pattern, which includes not only the thinking and the feeling, but literally how we contract in the body, how we split up from certain areas, because maybe the pain in our heart was just unbearable. So we close the heart more and more. And even though maybe we've grown up and we are stronger and we can choose the people we want to live with and we can choose a different path, we might unconsciously still close our heart, literally, physically, if something hurts us, instead of actually opening up, feeling and speaking our truth, or connecting more and being really in the moment, or walking away from the situation, right? So we give up our control to these unconscious automatic patterns. And so it might take a process, a journey, a path where you first become aware of it and consciously decide that you want to unlearn what you've learned in all of your body. So that you first can feel again, and then, wow, the magic happens. So many of the women I work with, they describe it as, wow, I suddenly feel really myself. I feel alive. I really understand what I just thought I had understood about myself. Yeah.
Right.
So it goes quite deep. Yeah.
And I also feel it's definitely also a process of remembering. What I find so interesting is that our body, and at least when I also look at my body, that it responds almost immediately, right? Through the sessions that we do, but also through the practices that I do myself, that my body knows. So it's not only recognizing where are potential barriers or charges or contractions or whatever, but it's definitely also connecting to something deeper that my body never forgot. And that I really find almost magical, or something, that there is not something of learning, but more of remembering.
Exactly. And that's a very, very, very brave thing to do. Very brave, because especially in our, generation, that the last generations, is that we so often, when we meet resistance in ourselves, we want something, we have our goals, we have our visions, but then we hit a barrier, or we hit our inner resistance, and then we don't go through it. We take the triggers so seriously, and then we analyze and psychologize, and we are led by our stories, and then we're like, oh, I better need another session, or I need to see my therapist, right? And we go back into the past, Whereas when we let go of the charge, suddenly we see the opportunity, or we have more options that we can expand in the moment and actually move through the triggers. We don't think about them anymore, and then we can empower ourselves in the moment. And in the moment when we empower ourselves, we can see the other people anew. Like people who are constantly changing, growing. Your partner, when you think you know him, suddenly you can be new for yourself. You give yourself the space to be constantly evolving every day, to feel what wants to come through you, right?
Yeah.
This energy, the desire, we want to constantly learn and evolve. That's how we're born.
Yeah, it's natural, right?
Yeah. And when you allow this to come through you, and you really take that space, suddenly you are able to give it to everyone else as well. And you see your team anew, and you remember why you hired them and why they are so amazing. And you can co-create from a collective, or in that, a common why. Remember really in your yoni, in your vagina, in your legs, in your heart, all everywhere, why you came together. What's your common mission?
Yeah. So how I can best describe it is how I feel is where we normally want to fight against certain triggers, or like you said, want to solve it, or go to another therapy session, and that can be super useful. And I also believe that to have a holistic approach is extremely important, but we often then forget the body. So and I think that is a very important piece, because it literally anchors us in the now. It literally anchors us in the moment. And what I really like, and what I also learned from you, is then to be in the moment and be like a channel, really like a tube almost, from the ground up to the sky or whatever, where everything can just be and flow through. So whether it's frustration, whether it's anger, or excitement and fun, like everything may exist and may be felt. So instead of blocking certain feelings or energies that I would say are not, or I've learned that are not appreciated, or that I should block, or that I should suppress, or whatever word you can use, or solve, that's also a good one. Instead of doing that, I just let them go through me, and I use that energy then to, like you say, expand and to give it more space instead of contracting. So that is how I would best then describe. Also, when I look at my leadership, how it definitely changed also my leadership, because I have less moments of stuckness, I would say.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And also everything you have to say and how you're leading people comes from authentic energy, or let's say words that are just words don't land. Yeah. And we often try to be calm. Yeah. Like there is, let's say, a natural way of calm when you're actually really calm, or you try to be calm and you dim yourself down in order to not speak from your anger. But at the same time, it shows that you care. It shows this is important. And if there is a charge of this without you attacking, or without you getting hysterical, or without you losing your ground, but you're grounded and you're opening up with, let's say, anger or frustration, and you're able to communicate the urgency, how much you care, how much it means, it wakes up everyone around you, right? And that's about really opening up in your body, but staying grounded and staying true. And we often learn, don't have these challenging emotions, don't cry, But you can stay open and you can cry from deep grief, but stay connected and stay open and not collapse. When you collapse, people get overwhelmed or want to get away from you, right? But if you stand your ground and you get your message across with the authentic emotion, that's when you change the atmosphere in the whole room. That's when people literally learn something that's, where they can feel it everywhere and not just kind of try to understand what you're getting at.
Yeah. So I already gave my personal example, but what would you say to the importance of somatic work, or somatic being connected somatically for leaders?
Right. I mean, for me, it's the base of everything. And as you see in the mentoring work or the mentorship, and why I call it like this, it's like, do I necessarily want to be a mentor? But what I express in this is that I'm always there energetically. So between the sessions, we're in communication. You share your daily life with me in many moments, so I can guide you energetically, remind you. All I do is remind you. I'm like the translator of your higher self through your body. Like, come on, this is where the joy is. This is where you can shine. This is where you're going to feel even prouder of yourself. This is where you can reach people more, because I've seen it in you. I know by then where you're going and what's your qualities. And that's, again, physically, emotionally, energetic, spiritually, mentally, your voice, etc. And so as I lived this way for such a long time already, and I felt quite numb and off. My life felt very off before, even though I was successful and I had a privileged life. I needed to kind of get to a burnout or a breakdown, or my body, because my body, I was evolving, and I was a journalist, and my body was just, giving me all of these messages that it wasn't the right place for me to be, as in symptoms and pain, fatigue, depressed, I wouldn't want to go through that door anymore. So I'm already very, very sensitive and aligned, but I needed to change and start to live actually from the ground up in my body again.
Yeah, because for the listeners, one step back, you were a journalist in New York, right?
I was a journalist in Hamburg, a photojournalist, working freelancing most of the time, also doing my own photography. It seems like a different lifetime, because it's like, a little bit like living your talents, where what you were good at in some ways, but still looking actually what is this thing that wants to come through me, but not knowing that it's something that you can actually do in this world. That you can actually that it's needed, that it's serving somebody, right? And then a whole new journey begins. And so when I started this somatic journey, everything changed. My environment, I knew again who I was. I could perceive people differently. I chose a very different partner from, let's say, compared to the men I used to be attracted to before. And, you know, we happen to have a very similar purpose. We moved to Ibiza. We have a wonderful son together. We live in a community that feels aligned. I live in nature, you know. All of this like falls into place where before, from your mind alone, you don't see that you have these options, right? Yeah.
So a lot of things have changed once you started to live from the ground up. How, if you would describe a session or perhaps your own practices to live from the ground up, because like we said, 95% of the time we live from our heads. We're also super busy and analyzing, and so how do we get connected to our body then?
So I do a lot of somatic movement, and what that means is that you really start breathing, opening, charging, and that energy in your body starts to flow, and you allow the movements from there. And I have different focuses of basically how I want to activate myself, right? But then the real living starts beyond the practice, when you actually do the things you do every day. When I'm teaching, I'm leading, I'm with my son, I'm maybe in a conflict, or I have to get things done, or I just want to be closer with my partner, or anything basically, right? And then you don't have time to do 20 minutes movement, an hour of movement, right? So, but the thing is, when I don't breathe and I open up my body and I use these qualities, so I am connected while I speak, while I connect with other people, I feel again off. Yeah, I've turned around. So when I just live in my head, it doesn't feel right anymore. Yeah, it immediately feels wrong. Yeah, I literally start to suffer. If I would live like this, like too busy a couple of days, I literally start to suffer, and my body will tell me, I will get aches, or I will feel low, or I will feel flat. Yeah? So as I know, this is not normal. I don't need to live this way. I change it as soon as I catch myself. So, and this is almost now unconscious, you know.
Right.
You basically just breathe again and open up and contextualize, and set the priorities. Like you feel from the ground up, all right, like it's a bit noisy here. It's like so much to do. Okay, what does it mean to me where I'm at? What's the priority right now? Yeah, do I want to keep running, or what do I want to lean back and look my son into the eyes and give him a hug and say, I love you? Or like take a moment to, you know, connect to the tree or my cat, or, you know, really open up. And then I'm constantly also connected to my clients. Yeah. And again, what does it mean for business leaders? I would say it really needs this full package. It's not enough from where, you know, there are group programs where you learn so much that I also teach together with my partner, or women's groups, or processes. But this mentorship, if you're a leader, and usually, you know, committed leaders want to have it all and they want to give their best, then it's like you commit to live this way 24/7 for like at least 3 months, and then it becomes you. You're becoming it, right?
But what I mean, Taya, is like, so when people are listening, of course for you it's like, okay, I feel immediately I'm off, I open up, I breathe, and then I reconnect to myself, and from the ground up I will start sort of again, right? But what if you never, like, what if you've heard this for the first time and you're like, what is she talking about? I mean, how can I then connect? So you talk a lot about the breath. Like, what can our listeners also do, for instance, in this moment, to say, okay, I want to be more connected to my body. I want to lead from the ground up.
Right. So let's do it. So wherever you're listening from, become aware, and please, if you're sitting with your legs crossed, put both feet on the ground. And start feeling your feet, start feeling your legs. Literally feel how you're sitting on the chair or on the couch, wherever you're sitting. Yeah, if you're driving, don't do this because I'm asking you now to close your eyes. Right now, close your eyes and start breathing fully. Inhaling. Inhale all the way down into your belly while you're expanding your diaphragm. And then also all the way up through your chest, expanding your rib cage all the way up into your shoulders. And you follow the breath. You start feeling yourself from the inside with your breath. Don't think about it, just feel it. Breathe and literally notice the air, how it goes all the way down. Yeah, feel your feet, release your hips a little bit. You can move your hips, you can let go of your legs a bit. Really feel the soles of your feet on the ground. Keep breathing, and with every breath, you have the intention to expand more from inside. And when I say breathe, I literally mean feeling inside. Follow the breath as in feeling and getting more space inside. Keep breathing, keep feeling. You can move your shoulders a bit, move your neck a bit, wiggle your jaw, inhaling, exhaling. You might want to breathe through your open mouth because that just opens your throat a little bit more, connects you to your voice more. And allow the energy to flow. Even if you get a bit lightheaded, keep breathing and feeling inside. Opening up, and notice, is there, anything you notice while you're breathing? Any sensations? Is it getting more warm, more cold? Are there any feelings right now? Yeah, how is it inside of your head? Just let go of your eyes. Keep breathing. And I want you to really charge your body, your system with energy by breathing a little bit more fully than what you would usually do. Yeah, how you would usually breathe. So, yeah, allow some sounds, be generous with your breath. Yeah, to take yourself off this breathing diet. There is air for you. There's breath out there. There is energy, and you're opening up your body. Keep breathing, keep feeling, opening up. Yes, really, really good. Feel inside. What do you notice inside? Yeah, if you feel more alive or you feel more energy in any place of your body, put your hand there. Breathe there a little bit more. Feel your warm hand. Yeah, don't hesitate to touch yourself. Yeah, notice how touching yourself makes you more present immediately in the body. You feel more, where you touch yourself. And breathe, and with the breath, even touch your own hand. Keep breathing, keep feeling. Opening up, and notice already, maybe just by feeling more alive or energetic right now in this moment, how are you relating to the room? How are you actually listening to my voice? How do I reach you in a different way? How do you maybe feel the connection between Caroline and me, and your connection with Caroline, because you've probably listened to more podcasts and you follow her and you love what she's saying and you love her mission, right? But how do you connect to her when you're more in your body? Yeah, how does it resonate with your own mission? Keep breathing and feel it. And now I ask you to remember one of your goals. I'm sure you have goals. I'm sure you want to be a better leader because you're listening to this. So maybe you have a goal in your mood board, or you have a vision, or you've written down an affirmation of where you want to be in a year or 2 or 5, doesn't matter. But it's a vision that feels so true to you because you felt that's me really, and I want to create this in my life. And feel it. And now I want you to ironically go into a very moment, remember a situation where you actually holding yourself back from reaching that goal, from creating what wants to come through you. Yeah. Remember a situation now. It can be from last week, 2 weeks. It can be in your work or in your partnership. Remember a situation where you feel triggered, or where you lose yourself, or where you just don't show up fully. You're maybe on autopilot, or you literally feel triggered and you know you're reacting, but you cannot stop it. So choose that situation now and really go in it when you're not really following your energy. Go into it. Remember where you were, who's around you, who were you with, in your room or outside. Make it really real for yourself. What were you wearing? How was the light? What were you saying? What were they saying? What triggered you? Feel it in your body and allow yourself now intentionally to react to it. Close the way you reacted, the way you closed. Notice it. Where in your body do you feel it? Where do you contract a little more? Just notice it and allow it. Let it happen. Notice how it makes you feel when you're like this. Notice the thoughts that are coming along with you being like this in your body, closing, reacting. Yeah, what's the story in your head? Yeah, what did they do to trigger you? What's unfair? What's that moment? Yeah, when you hold yourself back. And stay there right now and notice it. How do you feel? Notice this limited, lower energy version of yourself right now. Yeah. Notice how you're breathing less, how you're holding your breath in that moment, where before you were much more alive and present. But stay there for a moment, and in this, now you go even deeper underneath that crust of pattern that we just created intentionally. That unconscious. Now you made it conscious, and now you can go deeper and ask yourself, what is it that you really want? Yeah, that you could really do if you would be fully in your power in that moment. What are you longing for? What are you craving when you feel like this, limited? But deep inside, you know you are not this. You can be better. You can be in your power. Yeah, what are you craving for? And now when I say it, I want you to speak it out loud. Allow all of this feeling, all of this craving, by breathing fully, opening your body, moving it, allowing sounds. Do it now. Breathe fully, open up, feel. Breathe, expand the areas that you've contracted before. Move your neck, your shoulders, your legs. Breathe, feel, open up. And allow to feel what you really want, what you're craving for, what you're longing for, what you're desiring, what you need. What is it? And feel, where do your hands want to reach to? Where do your legs want to walk to? What does your voice want to say? How do you want to connect or disconnect? How do you want to move away and go somewhere else? Maybe. What is it for you? Keep breathing. And now again, with all of this more openness, go back to the vision, the intention, the affirmation, your goal. Keep breathing fully and see how you perceive it now. Yeah, from your reality today, how can you go there faster when you're allowed to fully show up in your body? What are the new options you maybe see? What's calling you? And allow everything. Maybe you see colors, or you have new sensations, you have visions, or random people pop up into your mind that you haven't thought about before. And notice the quality, how you want to connect, how you want to open, how you want to move forward. Keep breathing. Maybe you feel it as a pull. Where does this pull want to go? Yeah. Maybe you feel more aligned to your essence, your soul, your higher self, whatever relates for you best to that power that you were born with. Keep breathing and feel it. And notice that little journey. How did it change you maybe a little bit? What do you want to do with this new feeling or insight that it gave you? Take another deep breath. Become aware again of your feet on the ground, your knees. You can touch yourself, your legs, your belly, your chest, your arms. Really come back fully into your seat where you're sitting. And if you like, you can open your eyes or not. It's your choice. Be gentle with yourself as you're, coming back, shifting back into the here and now. 3 dimensions, the room, the place where you're at. And just also really consciously notice, how do you experience the room, your body, yourself right now? Yeah. For you, Caroline, how is it for you? And I'm not only, when I speak to you in all of your body, I obviously speak to 2 people.
Yeah.
And I saw you communicating with your beautiful baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Taya. And I think this gives the best idea of what we are actually doing together, and how this work can be so transformational. So thank you so much for sharing this. And what I always feel so, what is so special about this is that we intuitively, our body basically intuitively knows how it blocks, right? How it contracts, and especially when I myself go through an audio like this, I'm always surprised, like, wow, there's apparently something that my body does in a challenging situation, or in a situation that I wouldn't consider challenging for my mind, but apparently it is challenging. And what I also experienced, what I find really interesting, is that certain things that I'd spoken to with a therapist, or that I went through and treated through EMDR, then I kind of had the feeling, okay, I completely went through this trauma or through this situation. It doesn't, affect me anymore. And then during our sessions, sometimes they still came up. And what turned out is that they were still in my body, and they were in certain situations I was triggered, and then my body was then contracting. And although we spoke about that, I now know better that I can be kind of a channel for everything, then still I found it super interesting that things that I considered to be, done, healed, whatever, give it a word, were then still, locked in my body. Can you explain how this works? And perhaps also people that listen have noticed something that they were like, huh? How can this still come up?
Yeah, absolutely. So how I see it is that really from, it can be either really traumatic experiences, where it was just too much for your system and you keep certain feelings in, or the energy, you literally, you freeze, you're in shock, and all of this is for you. It's like your natural anesthesia. You numb yourself because it's too much for your system. So in a way, it's even a good thing we can react this way, It's just that we then come up with a pattern that we keep repeating. And obviously throughout life, we have many situations and we come up with thousands of patterns. And the more we become aware of it, we also become aware that there is this charge in our body that we can release through many techniques of touch, of movement, of breath work, of all kinds of approaches, somatic approaches. And then there are the patterns that we are still repeating. Yeah, sometimes it even feels like an empty pattern. It's like there is no charge anymore. You know, it's like I almost forgot this thing that I found so challenging or that I identified with for so many years. Yeah, childhood trauma, right? Like my connection to my father. Da 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 da. Yeah, like if you release the charge, there is more love, but you might still react to your partner the way you reacted then. But it's actually, there is no reason anymore. So we also need to unlearn the patterns, right? So it's, how can I explain it better? There is this, it's really in the body where suddenly we can feel our legs again when we notice, or a certain area in our belly where we really didn't want to feel something and we really closed it and it never opened again. But by following the energy flow in your body, somebody like me will always be guided through your body, through this urge to be alive and to develop and to be free. That's inherent, that's in your body. That's I will always feel these places, right? And can help you then to release it, to first become aware of it, to allow to let go. And one more thing maybe that's really important to understand is that if something means so much to us, like our leadership, our mission, of course, it's also the most scary thing because we care so much. We don't want to lose it. We want to show up. We want to be successful. It means the world to us, right? So, of course, we're scared. And this kind of fear is a natural thing. It's an energy flow in our body, yeah? And as we started this conversation and you explained a little bit, now you can allow all the challenging emotions by expanding your body, also the fear. So we're not splitting up from the fear, but we're actually opening up to that energy. And then it makes us more awake. So we're more adventurous and excited instead of anxious and depressed, for example, right? We're more like, all right, I have my ground. I can deal with it. I can confront myself with it. It's the same energy, but you're opening up with it and it can flow.
Yeah. And you know, Taya, what I was thinking about, a lot of people, when they start with, let's say, okay, I want to be more connected to myself, or I want to learn, maybe I want to walk a more, let's say, spiritual path, of they start with yoga. And I also have done and still do a lot of yoga. And what I was thinking about when we were doing this work is that actually the principles behind it are similar, right? Because what yoga aims to do is to make sure your life force, your life energy can flow through your body. And it actually helps you to open up certain areas that are perhaps blocked or and where the life force cannot flow through. And what I found super interesting is after my own journey of, I don't know, 10, 15 years, that coming back to the body really and understanding and working with the energy that goes through our body, through movement, through breathing, through sometimes stretching, through working with you, it makes so much sense, you know. And I also think that for the listeners who hear this for the first time, they might be like, okay, after this exercise, you probably understand much better. But it's it's not something really complicated, you know, and that's also what is really important. Like you said, you don't have to have 1 hour a day, do all these difficult exercises. No, it can be really in the moment where you realize, okay, I don't feel my feet, I don't feel connected. You take a step back and you can literally take 1 minute to like reconnect by breathing as deep as we just done in the exercise, or by deliberately bringing your attention to your feet, into your legs, to your lower belly. And it doesn't have to be complicated, right? And that's also really important. So it's actually really simple. But what it does require is to be in this moment and to be aware, like what is going on in my body right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and the big difference for you mentioned yoga, and I love yoga, and I love, you know, how there are so many different yoga teachers, as,
absolutely,
you know, and the coaches, and they use yoga, and all of this is amazing. What I sometimes find is that the gap between our real life and then the asanas or the Sanskrit words, or, you know, that it kind of separates us a little bit from what's really going on, right? So it's a little bit the same as I said, like, oh, I need to see my therapist. I'm in a moment and I go into my head and like, oh, I should do more yoga, or I should journal more, or I should do this asana, because I don't know what. Yeah, it's just examples. And whereas the somatic movement really brings you back to just feeling what is. There are no the same asanas, you know, it's like focusing on different areas, but I want you to feel and move just as you are, like nobody else can move. Stretch like nobody else can stretch, right?
Right.
There is no right. There is just you feeling it in the moment, and tomorrow it's different again. Yeah. And this is a really good training. And yes, it's super simple. And yet I'm not going to lie about it. It no, also takes years to kind of unlearn what we've done for decades, right?
Yeah,
but course. It's effective from the very first moment. Yeah, it's just you're not going to want, you're always going to want more, because it's limitless and your hunger is limitless. And as soon as you feel it again, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, what I also would like to emphasize on is that the energy, when the energy is flowing, when you feel empowered, and probably everyone who's still listening feels something different in their body, perhaps feels like more expansion, more empowered. At least that's how I feel when I'm really leading from the ground up. I've noticed that this is a very different type of power than that we are used to in our society. So we're more used to kind of force and putting force into a certain, you know, project or even onto others, whilst this is a different kind of power. I would love you to explain this a bit better than I do now.
Right. What's the difference? So it doesn't mean that you're always calm and soft and feminine, you know, however you imagine it, but really true to yourself, what you feel in the moment, right? So it can also mean that you're very ambitious and focused on a project and bring a lot of energy into it, but it constantly needs to be a flow back, that it's also energizing you. And when this stops, it maybe means you're going to lean back, you breathe, you feel again, like, and you contextualize, like, again, what am I doing this for? Are my actions, my connections, the people around me, are they energizing me? Are they giving me more? Is it, you know, is there a flow, a co-creation between us? Ideally, you know, by the end of the day, you have more energy, although you might need to rest and eat something, but you have more energy after your work because it's coming through you. It's literally, you are a channel and it's coming through you. Yeah. So this power, it just feels right. It's when you're like, wow, I'm proud of myself. I I'm doing the things that feel right to me with the right people. It's a feeling, yeah. There's no right or wrong, but you just feel aligned or really connected to who you are. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about the results from your own process, you know, like there were moments when you were just like, oh, I just had more joy, and I was even more surprising myself. Although I know you're an amazing speaker who is very much in the moment, there was an extra of maybe connection or feeling your sisters more, or or making even more bold decisions, struggling less with the decisions that may be challenging, because you feel, yeah, that's just my truth, and I don't need to go into a drama, or, you know, I can just take that step, although it's hard, but that's what it is. This is my truth, and sometimes things are hard.
Yeah. And what I definitely felt and still feel is that we're so conditioned and often raised by a certain idea of success and being successful. And what we often, and at least what I experience, is that success seems to be outside of you. So you kind of need to get it, you know, you need to walk towards it. You need to try to reach it. And this is also what I see a lot with also the women around me, that they're as if there's a carrot on a stick, and they constantly run for the carrot, right? But it's always a few meters ahead from them. And what actually happens when you're more in the moment, and when you are, like you said, more connected to what is true for you, is that success has much more to do with expanding what is inside of you. And even though, well, for me, it never changed. I mean, the impact that I really want to make is through the vehicle of new female leaders, and I really want to, help other women in living their most authentic lives and leading authentically, but also reaching a more, let's say, equal world. That had never changed, but the feeling or the place where it came from, instead of being a carrot that I was running towards, it actually comes from something inside me that just wants to expand. And so the new things that we do, we just launched a new career platform, the speaking, the books that I write, all the things that I do come from that inner intrinsic motivation that wants more, but not from a place of being, if I do that, then I will be a better person or a better leader or a better entrepreneur, or all these things. But just because I feel that it's inside of me, and it wants to have more space and more impact, because it wants to change the world in a positive way. So that's a huge difference. And I think that is that is something that might resonate also with our listeners, from, okay, why am I doing the things that I do, and where does it come from? Am I running towards a stick, or does it really actually comes through me and via the ground, via my feet, via my legs, via my pelvis, my lower belly, everything to my heart and my head. So it's like one. And when a lot of people speak about alignment, and it's it's almost a hype word, or that's not aligned, or you're not aligned, or whatever. But I can truly say that feels aligned, because it is literally also coming from the ground up.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, a very important point, especially also in this society, that,
Yeah, and then fulfillment starts there, right?
Yeah.
Where you also, and this I wanted to add, is where you are not, Caroline, the, business owner and in your mission as in separate from everything else you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is where, we can speak about sexuality and sexual flow, and where we can speak about how are you connected to the masculine. Yeah, I can see in my female leaders that I work with, it's, it's never separate how they allow themselves to be connected to their partners, or wanting a partner, or allowing the desires, right? Because if you cut that part off and you just want to be in your career identity, you're going to lose a lot of what's authentic, yeah? Because we constantly feel we are also the people that we love, that we are around. We're constantly connected. You are that you had a heart wish to get pregnant, right? And you're already changing with every month of the pregnancy. And this affects your leadership, but to really open up in that way that all of this can exist all the time, and that you live it. And that also your sexuality, the sexual flow is part constantly of your life flow, yeah? And that's when we can speak about pleasure, and that life becomes more joy when you have your full body available to you. Joyous, joyful, yeah? Where I always say, you have all of this in your body. You don't need to fall in love with a new lover to feel like you are in love. I do right now with another client of mine. She's in a phase of, in this mentorship, there are different phases. And then there are phases where you're just so in love. Yeah, we're just so in love with life. Yeah, and I like to say, in my women's groups, often we come to these moments of sexual awakening. Oh my God, it's actually in my body. It has nothing to do literally with my lovers. I have it all the time. I can be turned on by life just because I have this beautiful, sensitive, vulnerable, and sexual body and I own it. I own it. Yeah, I can use it the way I want, and I can make my day more exciting, more essential. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's very, very true. And I can imagine that a lot of listeners think, okay, it would be so cool to work with Taya or to do something with this whole idea of somatic movement, somatic coaching. And well, we have really good news, because we're gonna organize an event together.
Yes.
On the 16th of April. All the details are on our website, newfemaleleaders.org/events. We're going to organize a online event together, so that as many people can join as possible, because that is also, I think, really part of our joint mission, that we want to, offer our services also to a large audience. So check it out, newfemaleleaders.org/events on the 16th of April 2023. And there will also be a retreat where Taya will also be part of. You can also find more information about that on our website. So Taya, I mean, I know from from experience that we can speak for hours and hours and hours. But for now, I really, really would like to thank you for this amazing conversation, for your amazing exercise, and what you've shared with us, your wisdom.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about everything we're going to do together in your process and the work together. I feel so aligned with your mission and what I can contribute. Yeah, we can speak even more about contribution and what it means and what is it in the body. And to all the listeners, I thank you so much for listening. Yeah, if anything, everything that we spoke about resonates with you, always feel free to reach out. And you can find me on Soulpilot. Soul, like the soul and the pilot, soulpilot.org. Work with us, and there are the ways how you can work with me and reach out, or find me on Instagram, Taya till Soulpilot, or Taya Stapelfeld. And I'm very happy to talk to you.
Thank you, Taya. And if you're listening via Spotify, we would love it if you could give us a ranking. And if you think, oh, that event sounds amazing, I do want to buy a ticket, but I would even love to win a ticket. Well, then that's very simple. Make a print screen of this podcast and share it on your Instagram stories and tag New Female Leaders and tag Taya. Then we will share it with our community too. And make sure you do this before the 30th of March 2023. So we can pick a winner and otherwise just buy a ticket because you don't want to miss this. Thank you so much, Taya, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.